and welcome. So I'm starting a new book, and this one I got at Hobby Lobby or something. It's not great paper. It's not bad. It's just not what I want. The book was too big. I cut it in half. So I'm going to use one half, and the bottom is so straight on one edge, curved on the other. I try to curve the other one, just doesn't work. So I actually, after this video, I end up cutting like a ½ inch off the bottom to make it even, but you won't see that till next time. Because it's paper I don't like, each page I do in here, I'm going to add paper on top of the page. In this case, I'm going to use a digital download of a receipt. And so I'm just going to glue it right to the paper. I plan to only use one side of each of the pages so that when you flip it vertically, the lower half will have the art. So that's my plan. I don't know, I'm getting into books lately. I don't know, other than just doing single tags or cards. We'll see where that goes. Might be the season, I don't know. So once I've glued it on, I'm going to trim it down to size. And now I can start doing my art. First thing I'm going to do, as I normally will do, is if I'm going to do any embossing, now's the time because I've got the least opportunity for static or anything that is wet. So I'm going to take one of my favorite stamps. This is Tim Holtz Faded Type, and I'm going to put some embossing stamp onto the back of it and stamp it onto the page. I always wipe my stamps off. A lot of people don't, but especially for like embossing, a lot of people don't wipe ink off, but I usually clean them up. I'm going to be embossing in gold. This is a really super fantastic gold. It just has such a nice shimmer, shine. I do have it available in my Amazon storefront, and it doesn't cost you any more to buy from my storefront. It just gives me a little bit of a commission. It helps me pay for my art supplies, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to emboss it with my heat gun. And the heat gun's a little bit different than just drying it. You can dry with, or you can emboss with just the dryer, but it doesn't go as quickly. I always love the end result of embossing. And I'm going to be adding some distress ink. Now remember, embossing is a sealed piece or sealed medium, and so anything you put on top of it, you can just wipe off. I mean, unless you have something like you can put glue on top of it, and it might not, it will immediately wipe off, but if you let it dry, then that might be a problem. But my point is, if you put like inks, distress inks over top of it, then you can just buff it off. I'm going to be using some rusty hinge, and I'm going to be adding it through a stencil. And so I'm just going through my stencils to choose one, and I'm going to use that floral. Just adding some here and there, mainly around the edges, but I did bring one in a little farther there. And I'm going to be using another stencil. This one is a 6x6 stencil that I got off Simon Says Stamp, and I'll have the description of it in the description, the name of it in the description. And I'm going to use speckled egg. I do really like speckled egg with rusty hinge. I'm just going to place different branches from coming in from different areas, not necessarily keeping the stencil in one spot. And remember, if you get it on top of your embossing, you can just buff it off because it is a resist and it won't stay on top of it. And I want it to be a little, I don't want to say ethereal because it won't be shimmery or anything, but I'm adding a little picket fence, or not really a little, I'm adding a good amount of picket fence just to bring some, not bringing white, but I'm just kind of lightening it up a little bit. Softening all the colors. Gonna put some walnut stain around the edge. and buffing off anything sitting on top of my gold embossing. I'm going to add some white splatter. It's my new, I remember I asked if anyone had any suggestions for splatter, and this was suggested, and I had seen other people using it, and so far it's working pretty good. There's a link to that in my Amazon storefront, and I'm going to give it a dry. I have this stamp that looks like some sort of ledger. I honestly cannot remember where I got it. I'm pretty sure it's off Amazon. Maybe I'll look to see if I can find it in my orders. I've had it for a long time though, so I'm not quite sure I'll be able to find it. And I thought it was kind of appropriate since the paper for the background was kind of a receipt type thing. And just kind of looking to see wherever my eye thinks it should go. And I'm using Archival graphic ink. And then I have another stamp I'm going to use out of Etcetera. And this stamp, I only want the very edge. Looks like the fine print of something. And so I just want the fine print in a couple of spots. I'm going to add some of my vintage tape that I made. This little sheet is me using matte tape, and it worked somewhat. It curled up some. The crystal clear tape does not do that, but the matte does for some reason. I'm just putting a couple spots. I end up covering up the one on the left, but that's okay. That's kind of how my process goes, is sometimes I cover things up. If you're looking how to make that, look at my Asked and Answered. I have a video on how to make the age tape. I just have one little spot that I'm thinking needs some stamp, and so I'm just taking this. It's also from Etcetera. Sometimes I'll use whatever's out if I can. And so I'm just putting, I should have put it on a block, but I didn't, but that's okay. And I'm getting ready to do some collaging. I've got almost everything to download. There's a couple things that aren't. The first little kind of label there, the pretty label, is from Double Helix. I'll have all the links in the description so you don't need to remember, but the number, and then that, actually I'm not sure where that came from. That might have been, I pulled it out of my paper strips, like Tim Holtz paper strips, but I might have just put it in there from a scrap of paper, so I can't guarantee it's a paper strip. The blue definitely is a paper strip. And I just thought I needed to bring out some of the blue from the stenciling and the blue from the original receipt back. Some of that blue text comes through, and I just love that. And then one of my crowned birds is going in there. So I have to shift things over just a little bit to make way for my bird. Just playing around till it's all lined up. And then I'll start gluing. I usually do start from the back and work forward. Sometimes I mess that up, but usually that's how it goes. Go from back to front. I love this download here. They do such interesting things, and there's some that look like receipts, some with flowers. It's a beautiful download. I use it quite often. I try to pull up my tape, but then I thought, oh, it doesn't matter. I just glue over top of it. And then my bird. And remember, if you trim anything off like that, you want to come back with your vintage photo and just kind of add a little bit of darkness to that edge. Kept wanting to put that number somewhere, but I don't end up using that. And the last thing I do is add a sentiment from Tim Holtz, Small Talk. And, you know, I'm trying to remember, oh, wait, I still have that. Cultivate kindness is what it says. The reason I wasn't sure was because, as I said in the beginning, I ended up chopping off the curve of the piece, which I actually like the proportions better once I did that. But it cut off my sentiment. So I ended up doing a new sentiment on it, but it was still sitting in my trash, so that's how I knew what it was. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really think I might like working in this book. We'll see. But I do have some final pictures coming up. If you have not subscribed, I invite you to do so. If you like this piece, give me a thumbs up or a comment. I'd appreciate it. And I will see you next time.